Well, hello friends, glad you could join us. Welcome to the Suzuka International Racing Course in Japan for the penultimate round of this Division 2 season. And oh, by the way, it's raining. Well, we'll put it to you like this. It's a cold and wet one here in Japan for this 14th round, but it's a hot one here in the championship standings. We'll get to that in just a minute. But first, your starting grid, it's Cam Tizzle on pole by 2/100ths of a second. Over Race Chase, back to third. Brett drives fast, about 2.5 tenths. It's Israel, 5.5 tenths in fourth. Gab, behind by about 6 tenths, and then it's back to Electric Blade, nearly a clean second behind. It'll be Slayer Ice 7th, 8th the Noganator, 9th Andrew Mason, 10th is Brian Mosser, 11th Josh Senior, 12th is Ill Bill, 13th is Frenchie, 14th is Big Bruiser, and then without a time is both 15th of JC and 16th of King Pro Player. So, top, 5-6 cars really in and amongst it with each other, very close by. Everyone else a little bit further back, but here's what the standings look like coming into tonight's race. That's actually only after Brazil. Gee, so we don't have points up. Well, this is unfortunate because at the moment we just simply do not have the point tallies for both championships after Montreal last time out. But what we can tell you is this. Next time out, Circuit of the Americas, the final round of the season tonight, though. It is Suzuka, a track very much revered and respected by many. One of those tracks that, if everything goes to plan, which it's not guaranteed, you may still miss out on how just difficult and tight and tricky this track is. I mean, very much an old school, old style racer circuit this, where the least amount of mistakes is going to be the driver who wins tonight's Grand Prix. That is absolutely the case. And by the way, looking like this race is probably going to stay in the wet direction as well. 78% chance told by Brian Mosser. I do not believe we are going to be seeing this one dry out here, which is unfortunate as far as the pure racing is concerned. Well, here's the actual thing. Race is wet, 78%. Probably not going to see much dry running, although what I will say is this. Does look to be only the intermediates on tap, which is good news. If it was more than that, it would be an absolute crapshoot for position here, and I think realistically, we've got 16 drivers on the grid. Good turnout for Division 2 this week. 16 drivers on the grid, who I think, if in a good scenario here tonight, could very well walk out with a win. But formation lap up first. I'm assuming we're going to see everybody on the intermediate tires. There's Cam Tizzle. He will lead us away from the line. As far as tires are concerned, yep, everybody's starting on the intermediates. Now, as per usual in the rain, you are not required to stop during the race for an additional set of wet tires. If you choose to try to take these intermediates the whole way and make them last, that is totally your prerogative. And I think that's what we might see some drivers do tonight. If this stays, kind of the status quo as far as what the weather's going to be like, I don't believe we're going to see many drivers. If they do stop, it's going to be around midway. It's going to be purely strategical on behalf of, how well along those tires are. They're not really going to make any sort of a difference, I would think. The question is going to be, though, I think that first sector is so difficult, even in the dry, those Sector 1S's Dunlop and then through Degner 1 and 2. Underneath and heading for the hairpin. I think this is going to be a fun one in the braking zone specifically. I think that could definitely throw some drivers for a loop tonight. There you go, lap 13 to 18 is the predicted stop. To go from one intermediate set to the other, that spoon curve, you can see there Cam Tizzle even getting a little wiggly, even just on the formation lap here. There he is again. I think he's probably just trying to put some power into it and heat up the tires as much as he can. I think the question has got to be Gab here. At least from the point standings in which we have, in position to take a good lead in the championship. But Cam Tizzle starting on pole. 3 drivers in between himself and his championship rival. Massive one coming up here. The question is, who will get away from the line the best? Because realistically, if Cam Tizzle doesn't get a good start, that's not going to be too helpful. Race Chase could absolutely have a good look into the inside here. If he gets away well, it will be side by side into that first corner, which would be quite dramatic to say the least. Brett drives fast. I'm going to be looking at him and Israel as well. Could they shoot the line and go for broke and potentially, play a factor in the opening stages of this race here? as Gab apparently has not found the grid correctly enough. We're just waiting for King Pro Player to round the final corner and line up on the grid for the 14th round of this 13th season of the Midwest F1 League. I've been here since the beginning, and goodness me, we've got ourselves another good fight to the championship here, as Ill Bill, another driver, not finding the grid box correctly. Cam Tizzle on the outside, Race Chase on the inside. Could Brett drives fast in Israel find themselves poking their head into this battle as well? That's going to be the million-dollar question. But for the 14th time this season, the lights are turning on in the wet at Suzuka. Here we go, 5 lights, and they are off. Now, I think realistic. Look at it, it's almost snail's pace getting away from the line here. I think Race Chase to the inside has gotten a good start. They're going to be side by side, hanging in the first corner. 3 abreast behind is the Haas of Electric Blade trying to send to the inside. They've gotten into Israel and Gab as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there's front wing missing. I definitely thought initially that Race Chase, I think, reacted to the lights better, but Cam Tizzle was better on acceleration and going up through the gears and actually being able to put the power down. Race Chase has stayed second, but I think realistically, as we got the Ferraris battling it out here side by side, Ill Bill and Josh Sheen are going to be side by side going through the S's and up the hill through Dunlop. Very difficult corner this, and it's blind on the outside of it, so if a car spins, you might just take him with you. Through Deckner 1 and 2 as King Pro Player and Israel were side by side there temporarily. The Ferrari's gotten around Israel through Deckner 1 as Cam Tizzle leads him into the hairpin. Let's see if Race Chase is going to have a look here. Yeah, he's not quite going to be close enough. Maybe do we have a look behind the Haas of Electric Blade trying to potentially round the... sorry, that's Gab on the outside of the Haas of Electric Blade. I thought was maybe going to have a look there. Couldn't quite do it. King Pro Player, a couple of tenths behind. Slayer Eyes up through 200R and in towards the spoon curve. Once again, the pit window, if they choose to accept it. Lap 13 to 18, pretty much halfway through. King Pro Player and Slayer Eyes side by side, exiting the spoon curve, heading down the backstretch now, heading towards 130R. Could they potentially... Well, I'd be a bit silly to find a move here. Slayer Eyes definitely having a bit of a look. King Pro Player is going to push very wide, and as they make their way in towards the Casio Triangle, or the final chicane, either way, and around the final corner for the first time, it will be that of Cam Tizzle leading the first lap of the Grand Prix. By the way, that was a 1:44.636. These laps are definitely slow here, but maybe as now that we're going and we're up to speed, will this one start to progress a little quicker? Brian Mosser, 0.3 of a second back to JST. Brian Mosser's lost 4 spots in the opening stages here. Israel down 6. King Pro Player up 8. It's been a fantastic start for the Ferrari so far. Let's see if he can continue to capitalize within 2.5 tenths of Noganator here going through the S's. Next up through Dunlop, Noganator's going to push a little bit high. King Pro Player gets on the curb, has to kind of back out of it a little bit. Oh, this might be his chance here. Noganator's not having a good line through Dunlop. King Pro Player on the left side. Little bit of contact there with the Alpine. Yeah, Noganator's probably not going to be pleased with that one, but King Pro Player will say, hey, that's a good overtake to me. And up to the 7th spot. Now up 9 positions in the opening lap and a half. So the top 3 has remained the same. Oh, that was a big slide there for Cam Tizzle. Very much struggling getting on the power, coming out of the hairpin. And in through 200R. The top 3 have stayed the same. We have a yellow flag at the back. I'm not too sure who it is that's gone around. I think maybe Frenchie. I could be wrong either way. Top 3 has stayed the same. Electric Blade up 2. Gab has stayed in 5th. Anbu up 3 to 6th. King Pro Player, as we mentioned, up now 9 to 7th. As we got a move going on in the back, Josh Sr. getting around the inside of Ill Bill, going through the spoon. And maybe can the Aston Martin find his way potentially to the inside now? I don't think it's going to quite be close enough here. Well, into the Casio Triangle, King Pro Player, the back end of the car, really wanted to get away from him there. He's held on to it only just. Cam Tizzle fastest lap, 1:42.372. That's probably more or less what we're going to be seeing here, especially if these conditions persist. Which we think they are. The rain, I don't believe, is going to be getting any worse or better. I think it's just going to kind of stay this rate, and if that's not true, then we're in for a good one. King Pro Player, 0.4 of a second behind Anbu Mason, now heading in towards the S's, and I tell you what, that Haas seems to be all over the place. Either that or King Pro Player is just absolutely nailing this circuit for the time being. I think it's that second option. King Pro Player to be up 9 and really pressuring Anbu here. Anbu may even push high. This is where King Pro got Noganator last time round. Could he do it into the grass? Contact made there, and King Pro Player is going to think that Anbu may have squeezed him onto the surface. But I don't know. I don't think King Pro was alongside enough going through that section of the track to really warrant him you know, having been allowed the space, I really don't think he had any overlap to the inside of the Haas. So he'll have to wait his turn for the time being. Meanwhile, the Noganator may have a look to the inside. No, he wasn't able to get on the throttle fast enough to be able to do so. Now through the spoon curve and heading down the back straight, Cam Tizzle already has a 2.5 advantage over Race Chase, who has a 2.5 advantage over Brett Drives Fast, who has a 2.5 advantage over Electric Blade, who is under a good amount of pressure here from Gab as they make their way through 130R. 4.5, 5/10 of a second between the two. I have a genuine feeling that maybe Gab's going to be looking for a position here quite shortly. 142.027. In towards turns 1 and 2, and I think realistically what we're going to start to see here, maybe a little bit less on-track overtaking. I think it's going to matter more now about who makes the mistakes and who doesn't. You know, we're at that position. Everybody's kind of sorted themselves out here. We're just going to be not necessarily a funeral procession, but I think if you're a guy like King Pro Player or Gab here, I think Gab especially, who has to get himself good points here, he loses out this many positions to Cam Tizzle going into the final round at Coda is not going to be pretty. Heading into the hairpin, and it looks like Gab not quite going to be close enough. King Pro Player really up against the back of Anbu Mason here. On exit they go. That's still really not going to be close enough. Israel got close to Slayer Eyes that time, and Slayer Eyes a couple of tenths away from Noganator. But the question is going to be King Pro Players. No, we have a yellow flag at the back. Josh Sr., I think, has gone round. Doesn't appear to have hit anything. I think maybe he's just taken a quick spin cycle, and he's sorted himself out, and we're back to green flag racing here. King Pro Player, 0.3 of a second away. Brian Mosser may have a look at Josh Sr. here temporarily as they're going through the spoon. Brian Mosser not quite close enough, I don't think. Over the curb and down the back straight they go. That car looks pretty good. If he's got a good enough run here, he's going to try it to the inside of 130R. Brian Mosser, I think the veteran there has made a probably wise decision to not have sent it through that section of the track. Naturally, those cars want to push to the outside in such a high-speed corner, and I think Brian Mosser, for his sake, that was a good decision to back off. Ill Bill has picked up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. He's missed the chicane. The final chicane there, and I think that's pretty much exactly where that's happened. 10.5, 0.2 of a second between King Pro Player and Anbu Mason. These two have been battling it out for a good couple of laps now. Let's see if King Pro Player can get to plus 10 here and up to the 6th spot. Anbu Mason, knowing that there's a car behind you, is definitely enough to wear down a driver. That's always something that I think maybe King Pro Player doing well here. He's just kind of feeding in behind Anbu Mason the whole time, and Anbu, knowing that there's a car behind him, will naturally want to go quicker and may force a mistake. Really quick through Degner 1 then is King Pro Player. That was wicked quick there. And on exit of the corner, Degner 2, about even, I would say. Not really an advantage for either driver, but King Pro Player is absolutely sending it around the track to the inside of Anbu Mason. Tries to go low, and Anbu Mason not going to give him the space. I don't think he's really done anything wrong there. Once again, I think King Pro Player not alongside enough and has tried to almost barge his way in there. Not too sure, but either way. 0.8 of a second. Israel back to Slayer Eyes. We got 0.4. Well, actually, I was going to say 0.4. Seems Brian Musser's actually fallen off of Josh Sr. just a little bit here. JST may try to find a move here in the recent moments. We'll check back with them in a minute. In the meantime, Slayer Eyes round the outside, looking for the Noganator. 130R they go, side by side, well into the paint and the runoff, but they're still side by side heading into the Casio Triangle. Israel's got a good look at this one, as it looks as if Slayer Eye is going to get around the Alpine then. Very nicely done. Perhaps a set of stainless steel balls on Slayer Eyes there to be going side by side through 130R like that in the rain. And now Noganator, potentially. Can he find a move around the Red Bull? No, not quite. Red Bull has kind of put himself there on the correct point of the circuit to try to defend both the high and low line through those first couple of corners. Noganator's not going to have a chance now. His next opportunity, I think, is going to be going into the hairpin if he stays within good range. We'll check back with them in just a little bit. Electric Blade is within 0.2 of a second, and Brett Drives Fast heading through the Degners. Let's see if potentially an advantage is gained or a disadvantage happening here, exiting Degner 2, and it does look as if they're going to be even enough on getaway to not be able to make a challenge this time into the corner. King Pro Player not close enough there. Israel may have a look at Noganator through the hairpin. He's going to try high. Yeah, not quite. JST about 3.5 tenths behind Brian Mosser. Slipping it through the hairpin now, and JST's just not quite going to be close enough to make that happen. I think, again, we're at the stage of the Grand Prix once again that I think these guys really got to... I think what we're seeing them do is really start to settle in, and, you know, this is a race and a track in general. Not only wet or dry, but if you get yourself in a rhythm, you're quick. You don't have to be pushing it through the corners. You just got to be clean, and you just got to be fluent. And I think that's what we're seeing Cam Tizzle do here. Even to the fairness of Race Chase and Brett Drives Fast, they're still pulling good laps here. But Cam Tizzle, 141, 133. Doing fantastic here for the time being, and I think he is definitely within that rhythm, at least for now. Electric Blade 0.3 of a second away from Brett Drives Fast, not using the energy store, but was at least close enough there to, I think, have a look at the... have a good old knock at the door of Brett Drives Fast, potentially, as King Pro Player to the inside of Anbu Mason, now up to 6th. He's finally been able to make that move happen, King Pro, in towards turns 1 and 2. Fantastic. As Israel and Noganator side by side. Oh, has Noganator gone off? Yes, he has. Oh, he's only just going to be able to catch it, but that Alpine has gone wildly out of shape. Doesn't appear that he's hit anything, at least for the time being. I don't know if that was with contact from Israel or he's lost the car himself. Unfortunately, we didn't quite catch that, but either way, Noganator now down to 10th. Electric Blade half a second away from Brett Drives Fast, heading into the hairpin now. Once again, not really going to be able to challenge. King Pro Player to the back end of Gab. And by the way, Gab, it's an interesting story here for the Red Bull because realistically, started 5th, currently 5th, and not really gaining time to the 2 cars ahead. Remember, we were talking about not too long ago how he needs good points here. And for the time being, he is, well, at the loss to Cam Tizzle, has to be said. 0.4 of a second, Electric Blade as they exit the spoon curve down the backstretch now. Let's see if maybe the Haas will have a look at Brett Drives Fast, or even maybe does the Red Bull of King Pro Player. Yeah, he's going to have a look here to the inside of Gab, through 130R on the inside, sending it, committing to it, and there it is. King Pro Player up to 5th. What a race he's having. Bit of a slide there for Electric Blade coming out of the final chicane then, and down the pit straight they go. King Pro Player now does have the fastest lap of 140.853, but Gab's going to take him back on the inside, and well before they get towards that first corner, the Red Bull has made that spot back. Nicely done for Gab, able to at least defend a little bit and get it, and once again get it back. Electric Blade 3/4 of a second back to Brett Drives Fast for that 3rd spot. King Pro Player, though, knowing that now he could potentially, you know, genuinely outrace Gab here. Maybe will he be able to get this spot back sooner rather than later. That's a big slip on the back end, but he's caught it and is now back on the accelerator very firmly here. King Pro Player, Degner 1. Well, I don't know if that was a glitch in the screen or what. That car got wacky unsettled there. Half a second between Israel and Slayer Eyes as they exit Degner 1 and 2. Israel may have a look at Slayer Eyes here on the inside as they exit the hairpin through 200R, and I'm thinking now, yeah, 0.2 of a second. I mean, if Israel gives it a go here into this spoon, he may have a look. I think it's going to have to be done on the outside of it, coming off the corner, maybe, if they get a good getaway here. 130R, again, not really a place you want to go side by side, but if the opportunity presents itself and you don't go for it, I mean, you're just not a racing driver, are you? He's not quite going to be close enough this time, but Josh Sr. getting around Ill Bill, back to the inside of coming out of the spoon, and up to 11th, where he started, Josh Sr. Down the pit straight they go. Cam Tizzle's actually lost a little bit of time here to Race Chase. Race Chase now has gotten that gap to within 1.5 seconds. Potentially a battling developing there at the top end of the grid. We'll have to wait and see how that one transpires. 0.5 of a second. King Pro Player back to Gab. We have a yellow flag going out of turns 1 and 2. Noganator, I believe, is recaught the car. It was either him or Israel. Something's happened there either way. Both cars at least back in the correct direction, whichever one it was that spun round. So interesting now, we do have a 1, 2, 3, 4 car battle going on here for that third spot. King Pro Player closing in on Gab. Gab trying to hunt down Electric Blade, and Electric Blade trying to recatch himself back up to Brett Drives Fast, all for this third spot. This is becoming very interesting here very quickly. Brett Drives Fast leads. He's turning some good laps, but Electric Blade back within position. The rain's still falling, although I think the drivers are used to it enough now to where we'll have some, genuine representative laps. Of course, qualifying was dry. There was a slight chance, only 17%. On the back straight, heading into 130R, it looks as if King Pro Player that time was actually a little bit slow through the corner. But now, well, what's more interesting is this. Cam Tizzle has lost that advantage, and now Race Chase, within a second of our leader and the fastest lap, 1:45.32. Race Chase is going for it here. He's not close enough to make the move yet, but that opportunity is definitely making itself known to the Mercedes. Electric Blade has not handled turns 1 and 2 very well. That car got slightly unsettled going over the curb on the outside. And maybe as that opened the door for Gab. Meanwhile, King Pro... as Electric Blade definitely being unsettled then. Gab around the outside, right side, and now the inside through the S's. And, well, I tell you what, he's genuinely done that. Nicely done. We have a yellow flag again. Noganator's gone around in front of everybody. Thankfully, again, it doesn't appear that anybody's hit that car, but he spun with about 4 or 5 cars in his direct vicinity. I don't know how that one's ended up with no damage or no DNF, but, well, every once in a while you get enough luck to make that happen. Noganator, I think, has had a hell of a time so far today. That car appears to be struggling. Speaking of struggling, well, I was going to say struggling, not necessarily true anymore. King Pro Player was outside of a second of that battle for 4th. Just at the beginning of this lap. He's now reclawed his way back to within 0.4 of a second as they make their way through the spoon curve. I think genuinely Gab might be the quicker car here. Now +1. Electric Blade has fallen to 5th, still +1 of the day. King Pro Player up 10 still, and within 0.3 of a second, although as they exit the spoon, it appears he's not gotten the best getaway that time. But the battle for the lead within 0.8 of a second here. And I'm thinking, well, Cam Tizzle and Race Chase, both basically even on energy store there. Nobody really having an advantage. We'll check back with that in a minute. Again, Electric Blade trying to make a move on Gab within the slipstream, heading down the pit straight. Overtake not being used. There it is. Gab chooses the inside. Electric Blade will choose the outside. As they make their way down, heading towards turn 1, is Electric Blade going to try to send it here? Not quite. He's going to allow Gab to push out wide. If he maybe makes a mistake, Electric Blade can tuck underneath and get his position, maybe get his nose in there and, find a way. As Gab's going to push a little wide that time, not really enough to warrant an overtake attempt here, but maybe through the Degners if he's lucky. Definitely through the hairpin is going to be his next opportunity. Up the hill through Dunlop. King Pro Player watches on and hopes for a mistake between these two. Gab's not going to have a good line through the Degners here. Why, I tell you what, that's the second time I've seen a car go that far over Degner 1 and bump like that severely. King Pro Player now within 1/10.5. Could he potentially have a send around the outside here to the hairpin? He's going to get that car back down before that opportunity presents itself. I think he was going to... It was either really try to outbrake there and be late, or clip the grass and definitely get into the back of somebody. I think he's chosen the safe route that time, King Pro. Exiting the spoon they go. Race Chase 0.6 of a second behind Cam Tizzle within that slipstream, although not really finding an overtake quite yet. It is still going to happen, I think. Cam Tizzle, well, that was a little bit of a slide that time. You saw that going out of 130R. I think Race Chase in a better rhythm right now. Oh, that's a big slide for Electric Blade. He's gonna maybe... Oh, he's lost out on a little bit of time, but he's held the car and he's held position as well. Very, very lucky, the Haas. That one was almost drastically terrible then. King Pro Player into the pit lane. Does he know something we don't know? No wing, no damage apparently for the Ferrari. It's just a genuine strategical pit stop here. So now Race Chase within half a second. We've also got a couple other cars pitting that time. We've got King Pro Player, Noganator, sorry, not Noganator, King Pro Player, Ill Bill, Brian Mosser, and Frenchie have all found the pit box that time. Race Chase got within about a half a second of Cam Tizzle there. He's not quite close enough to make something happen, not at least for the time being. 0.8 of a second, and still for the time being, Cam Tizzle not really losing out on any position to Race Chase. I think genuinely it's going to come down to Race Chase either having to send it or Cam Tizzle making a mistake. Those cars are running so evenly right now. JST may have a look at Josh Sr. here on the way in through the spoon. Josh Sr. is actually going to drift very, very wide. Oh, nearly comes back out on track and takes his teammate with him. King Pro Player to the inside, up to 9th. King Pro Player, after having made that stop, Josh Sr. drifted very wide. JST tucked underneath. Josh Sr. wanted to come back out on track. His teammate was actually in the way, which kind of prevented him from doing that. That was nearly drastically awful then. Just waiting to see if and when we have more takers for the pit lane. I'm not too sure. We have a yellow flag somewhere along the line, and that is the Red Bull of Gab. Championship contender is in the fence, and the virtual safety car out on track. Oh, and he's done it. That's coming off of the second S then. Just a virtual safety car. Doesn't look as if it's going to be upgraded to full. He's lost a hefty amount of the front wing, but he's not going to be saved by a full safety car here. That is as unfortunate as it gets. Well, that's an interesting one there. Brian Mosser's picked up a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. What? Has he also spun across the corner like that and maybe is gone on the way in? I'm not really sure. That's a very odd penalty to pick up under virtual safety car here. Still only virtual safety car, and that's all it's going to be. I think we're going to go green flag racing here in not too long of a time. Just waiting to see if we have any more pit takers this time. Israel, drive-through penalty, speeding into the virtual safety car. Only driver to be caught with a drive-through that time is that of Israel. Cam Tizzle into the pit lane, Race Chase into the pit lane. Brett drives fast. Let's see what decision he makes. And into the pit lane he goes. Electric Blade, what does he choose? Also into the pit lane, only just. Nearly took the Ballard in with him. Slayerized, ducks into the pit lane. It's almost as if this was a full safety car with everybody pitting here. Cam Tizzle's going to exit the pit lane, actually still in the lead of the Grand Prix. Race Chase second. Electric Blade does pit. Anbu Mason's going to be stuck here behind his teammate, and he is going to be losing positions after the double stack. Cam Tizzle has the lead. Race Chase second. King Pro Player did stay out, but he was so far behind after having pit early, and then the virtual safety car didn't help him. So I believe all but just Josh Sr., Israel, JST, and Noganator. As JST and Noganator are both going to stop now. Remember, Israel has just had his drive-through served just then. So we saw him go into the pit lane. He's not actually made a stop. He's still on the same tires. 0.2 of a second between Electric Blade and Brett drives fast going through Degner 1 and 2. Slayerized and Israel actually side by side going up through Dunlap. Oh, big slide then from Israel. He has caught it. Only just. So I would think now halfway through this Grand Prix, coming up on 10 laps to go in the very near future. Brian Mosser, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That puts him at 13. Remember, we don't necessarily know why he's picked up 10 of those. It said for cutting corner or exceeding track limits, either one. .6 of a second now between the top two, and I'm starting to think maybe As Cam Tizzle got the better of Race Chase here, is Race Chase really going to have to send it? I think that's got to be the case. Just for the time being. It's a very difficult situation here as into the pit lane. Josh Sr. and Israel. Josh Sr. in. New intermediates for him. Electric Blade less than 0.2 of a second behind. Brett drives fast, making their way through the S's. Question is, King Pro Player, can he actually get himself back up into position here? Currently third, up 13 spots. And I think he might have the pace to contend for a win here, but he is currently back by almost 5.5 seconds. Is now on older tires, maybe by at least a lap or two over those around him. Oh, somebody, wow, I tell you what, that was Brett drives fast. We only had just kind of gone on with him. He had almost completely lost that car. Coming out of the hairpin, getting on the throttle, he was way to the inside. Thankfully, he's not hit anything. Apologies for almost missing that one, but that was so sudden and unexpected. Well, interesting story, this. Well, it's kind of the running joke here in Division 2 that Noganator and Brian Mosser can't leave each other alone. Hey, guess what? They may battle here again in a second. Cam Tizzle only 0.3 of a second ahead of Race Chase now up through Dunlop. Look at this. Race Chase going to try to the inside. Not going to have the room. He backs out. Cam Tizzle shut that door pretty quickly. Thankfully for Race Chase, he's not decided to go on and send it in there anyway. Exiting Degner 1 and 2. And in towards the hairpin now. Still only just 0.3 of a second. Cam Tizzle's going to be able to brake comfortably into the corner this time. The way that the Mercedes is not in position to get him quite yet. Seems to me like that V-Carb. I don't want to say the better car, because I think it's strictly at this point, we're looking at this like pretty much just driver preference and honestly driver talent, really. There's a yellow flag. The Aston Martin of Bruiser has gone off at the back. Spun that car back around in the correct direction. We're back to green. I think realistically here it's got to come down to who makes the mistakes and who doesn't. Because every once in a while you'll see this gap get down to within half a second like we're about to see now, and then eventually it'll go back up to a second. I just genuinely don't know. Well, remember we were talking about King Pro Player not too long ago, saying he was about 5.5 seconds behind. He has made up at least 1.5 seconds here. Now it's the fastest lap. Oh, he's going to slide. He is going to catch it, though. Just as we start to positively talk about King Pro Player, he nearly has to get away from him there. And oh, by the way, guess who's battling again? Noganator's done that through 130R. Fantastic move. Of course, I had to miss it, but, good stuff. Anyway. Back to the battle at the top of the grid. It's 4.5 of a second here between the two. Still battling for the win of this Grand Prix, neither of which have any penalty. That's key. This is going to be a full-out, all-out battle to the finish here. Between our top two, at the line this time will be 10 laps to go. Heading into the spoon curve now. 0.5 second the gap. Race Chase holding well, trying his best to find any sort of advantage or trick that Cam Tizzle doesn't have. But for the time being, Cam Tizzle has matched him pace by pace, corner by corner so far this race, and I'm thinking Cam Tizzle has the advantage. Whether or not he holds it is going to be the next question. It's only 4.5 of a second. A little bit wide in the first stage of the chicane. Once again at the line this time, 10 laps to go. Down the pit straight. DRS, well, it would be activated if we were in the dry, but we're not. 0.4 of a second or less. Race Chase not necessarily using his energy store here in attack. Cam Tizzle not really using it in defense either. These two seem to be very comfortable with their cars for the time being. I want to say Race Chase might be pulling better laps for the time being. Although they've got to be pretty dead on even, tell you the truth. Because if they haven't, if neither one of them has found a true advantage to this point quite yet, you'd have to think they are really just matching each other pace to pace right now. Good news is this is now the closest battle on track, this battle between the top two. As Race Chase follows in behind, again, not really close enough for the time being to make something happen, although still following in behind and hoping that Cam Tizzle makes a mistake. What could happen is Cam Tizzle could be backed up by the back marker here of Big Bruiser. In and out of the spoon they go. 0.4 of a second down the back straight. Is Cam Tizzle going to pick up a bit of a slipstream here from the back marker? No, not quite. It's actually going to be Race Chase. Will he be able to have a look? No. Maybe Brett drives fast on the back end of Electric Blade. He's actually getting quite a closest battle here for the 4th spot. Yeah, he's not going to have it, I don't think, this time, but exiting the final corner. And down the pit straight, it's within 0.3 of a second. Cam Tizzle's going to have to defend. Oh, by the way, Electric Blade did end up getting overtaken by Brett drives fast. Of course, the moment I look away from it. To the first corner, and nobody's able to take an advantage that time. But I tell you what, again, does look as if Race Chase better only slightly. When Race Chase has that slipstream out of that final corner, he does look the better car. I think maybe that Mercedes better in the straight line. Although, again, he doesn't appear to be struggling here through the S's. Mano-y-mano here. As JC getting around Ill Bill. I believe that coming out of the chicane. 0.2, 0.25 of a second between them. Heading into the hairpin, Race Chase. Not in a position where he needs to get desperate yet. Especially not as well. Cam Tizzle doesn't need to get desperate at all. He just has to exist. This is exactly the lead of the championship that Cam Tizzle would have wanted. The day to get round Gab and be able to put himself in a situation where going into Coda he's got an advantage. That could be the case. Snoganator and Ill Bill now. That was coming out of Dunlop. Snoganator now up to 9th. Still -1 on the day, but at least to be, within net 1 or 2 of your initial starting spot is not bad. I would certainly take that. Of course, I'm sure King Pro Player feels the same, +13. By the way, King Pro Player, what's interesting here, he's not really been able to close in on the top 2. He was within, excuse me, he was within 5.5 seconds, got within about 4 seconds, now outside to 7. So I don't really know what's happening here with King Pro Player, but something is maybe struggling here. Through Dunlop, heading into Degner 1 and 2. They're still within 0.3 of a second of each other here. Heading up in towards the hairpin once again. Still only 0.3, but Race Chase not in position to be dramatic quite yet. Maybe that'll be on the way soon. Maybe Gab can find a move around Brian Moss, or Brett drives fast. 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Could very well hand that 4th position to Electric Blade. Oh, big slide for Gab! Well, nearly lost it again. That was where he had lost it before. Whoa, into the middle of the circuit, nearly getting in the way of Josh Sr. And Israel's going to overtake him on the bottom as well. Gab is having a day to forget. That part is for sure. Half a second between Slayerized and Anbu Mason, but once again, the battle between the top 2. Within now 0.2 of a second. Yeah, Race Chase not quite going to be able to look for it this time. Maybe if they exit this final corner good enough here, Race Chase can have one. On the throttle they go. Cam Tizzle's going to push a little bit wide. Down the pit straight. Race Chase in pursuit. This may be his one and only chance. To the outside he goes. Wheel to wheel looking for the first corner. And a safety car on track. Right before it happens, Big Bruiser has a 10-second penalty with a severe collision with Brett Drives Fast. We've got several drivers entering the pit lane. What on earth has happened there? We saw yellow flags going through the chicane. Front wing missing a little bit for Brett Drives Fast. We've got Slayerized in as well. Electric Blade in, and Boo Mason appears to be stopping. Race Chase was about a 1/10 of a second away on the left side to overtaking Cam Tizzle and taking the race win, but no, a safety car comes out here. Cam Tizzle, saved by the bell? Maybe. Second round, about to begin. Well, I say second round, but you know what I mean. This is definitely unfolding to be a very interesting end to this Grand Prix. Well, the question becomes this. I mean, do we see any of these guys in the top half of the field pit? I don't think we will. Of course, what is this? Only just the top 3 and Josh Senior to have not stopped for another set of the intermediate tires. Electric Blade went in, Brett Drives Fast, Slayerize, Anbu, J-Steed, Nogue, Israel, Ilbil, Gab, Mosser, Bruiser have all stopped for an additional set of the intermediate tires. This is suddenly... Oh, here we go. Cam Tizzle and Race Chase into the pit lane. The question is now, does King Pro Player stay out? No. King Pro Player wants to be on even tires with those of his immediate rivals in this race. Bold decision. I would have went for track position. Considering you're going to go to green flag here with about 5 laps to go on one of the most difficult to overtake on circuits we have. I mean, you're in a spot now where you should have gone for track position here. King Pro Player's not done that. He will exit the pit lane in 3rd. I don't know. I've done this long enough to know when there's been a mistake, and I think that's one of them. No doubt of the driver that King Pro Player is, but I mean, you have to think there that he should have stayed out and taken track position. Even if he got overtaken, there's no way he was going to lose all those positions in 5 laps' time unless he made some sort of genuine mistake. Brian Mosser is going to get another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, this time under safety car as well. Much for the same way as he picked up the last one as well. Decisions. Safety car has not decided to come in this time by. Electric Blade is rejoined. Apparently, was he kicked there? Potentially happens. So, this time by. 5 laps to go. We will have 4 laps of racing here, will be my estimate. Well, the question is has King Pro Player made a good decision? I don't think he has. I think he's absolutely should have stayed out there. Again, less than 5 laps of racing on a track this tight and tricky to overtake on. Fresh tire is very helpful. Oh, Electric Blade is retired! What? Is this on track now? I believe it is. I genuinely have no idea what just happened to Electric Blade. That car is no longer in the session. The AI may have... Has the AI binned it? What is that? Frenchie apparently upset with Cam Tizzle. Not really sure what's happened there. Whoa! Interesting. Sorry, I'm just reading this as happened, you know, not half an hour ago. MoneyGram Haas in real life has signed a technical partnership with Toyota Gazoo Racing. Huh. Interesting. Well, what's interesting as well, the safety car still has not decided to come in. Now beginning lap 24 of 27. At lap 25, we'll get this race back going. We will have 3 laps of racing here. So once again, we will rejoin this race. We'll have 3 laps to go. Down the back straight they go. We still have yet to see if the safety car is actually going to come in. There it is. Safety car in at the end of this lap. 25, 26, and 27. 3 laps to go in the penultimate round of the season. Cam Tizzle has led this race from start to finish. Does he stay that way? I think it might be on for the Grand Slam if I'm wrong. I don't think has the fastest lap. No, he doesn't. King Pro Player has the fastest lap. 138.356. Cam Tizzle off of that mark by about 7/10 of a second. As Gab's going to pick up a tenner for a collision with Ill Bill under safety car. Green flag racing. 3 laps to go. Cam Tizzle leads Race Chase. He gets a great jump there. Race Chase is not even going to be relatively close to being able to actually make that move happen. Heading down to the first corner, Anbu Mason 0.2 of a second behind. Noganator and JC side by side going up through that first corner. Noganator still on the inside, trying to muscle his way around the wheels. Oh, lots of contact there, and JC's gone off. Into the wall. Yeah, I don't know whose fault that was, because Noganator was on the inside very cleanly then. Israel, I think what was wrong with Israel is he wanted to come back in and avoid having to go outside of track limits. Then he's gone straight into the side of Noganator, has lost the car, I think, kind of on his own. I don't think Noganator's done anything wrong there. Through the hairpin they go. King Pro Player has actually had a decent getaway here within 0.3 of a second of race chase, looking to make his way into the second spot. King Pro Player, he gets a podium here. He's absolutely deserved it. A win. One of the best races we've seen in Division 2 from a driver purely. That's the $1 million question. He's plus 13 on the day. 0.2 of a second. Can he get race chase here? Down the back straight. Obviously no DRS, not even in the dry here. No battery being used. He'll have to wait. Through 130R. Yeah, that car looked a little weird through that corner that time. Maybe as they exit the chicane in the final corner, does King Pro Player have an opportunity? I think he's actually lost a little bit of ground there. Gets back on the throttle, 0.4 of a second. Cam Tizzle leads, making their way down the pit straight. King Pro Player does have the fastest lap. Cam Tizzle is just missing the fastest lap from his Grand Slam. However, King Pro Player in the mix. He'll have to genuinely get around Race Chase. That's going to be a task of its own, because Race Chase has now suddenly gone from attacking to defending. Only a lap, eventually a lap and a half remaining in this Grand Prix. 3 cars in contention for the win. King Pro Player's not going to be afraid to make something happen. Cam Tizzle's got to defend Race Chase. He's had to do so, a good portion of this race. And now a third car in the mix. Jace Diaz retired that in the pit lane, thankfully. Into the hairpin now for the penultimate time. King Pro Player not in position to make anything happen, nor is Race Chase on Cam Tizzle. Through 200R now, the V-Carb leads by 0.4 of a second over Race Chase, by 0.3 over King Pro Player. As I think Josh Senior's maybe gone around there. Yes, he has. He has spun that car going through the hairpin. A little bit of front wing missing. He's had to have parked it there. Aston Martin's going to avoid only just. Now down the back straight for the penultimate time. Cam Tizzle, 0.3 of a second clear of Race Chase, trying to close in. King Pro Player has got to make a move either now or into the first corner. It's not going to be now. He's only got maybe 1 or 2 more opportunities here. King Pro Player, one of them being the first corner. Down the pit straight for now. What is the final time? Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Race Chase not close enough to Cam Tizzle. It's 0.4 of a second the gap. King Pro Player behind by 2 to Race Chase, and you gotta think that's probably King Pro's best opportunity at getting to second here. Potentially gone. The next one is the hairpin. Maybe the spoon if he's lucky, 130R if he's ballsy, and the final chicane if he's desperate. Oh, and he's nearly lost it. He's held on somehow. Up through Dunlop. Look at him go, trying to find the outside. 1, 2, and 3. It's a 1/10.5 between 3 cars. Through Degner 1 they go, nose to tail. Exiting Degner 2 into the hairpin. This is the next situation. King Pro's going to try to send it into the back wheel of Race Chase. He's lost a lot of the front wing here. Surely that could go down as a bump and run. He's lost the bit of the front wing. He's overtaken Race Chase. I don't think he's done it cleanly, though. He's wanted to have a look to the inside. He's wanted to be late on the brakes, and it's definitely cost him, King Pro. Exiting the spoon curve, only 130R and the Casio triangle left to go. The final chicane down the back straight for the final time into 130R. King Pro closing in, but not enough to pressure Cam Tizzle, I don't think. Into the chicane. King Pro's got to send it here. Very late on the brakes he goes. Unless Cam Tizzle makes a mistake, it's going to be all over, and it is. Cam Tizzle, well, he's going to be shy of the Grand Slam, but he will win this Japanese Grand Prix. King Pro Player, not sure he'll keep second. Slayer Eyes getting around. Brett drives fast through the final couple of corners. So does, Anbu Mason over Israel. Of course, we got penalties in the way as well. I don't know if King Pro Player is going to keep that second spot. He was late on the brakes, got into Race Chase, definitely. Could the stewards view that as a bump and run? That is the $1 million question. But for Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you once again. Be sure to join us next time out for the final round of this 13th season at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Fantastic win today by Cam Tizzle. We'll see you next time.